And hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the RichOnItch Podcast. Me and Riptide are bringing another wonderful episode to you, sponsored by Riptide Gaming.
Yeah, guys, I'm the sponsor for this video. Actually, that's a lie. I'm not the sponsor for this video. The sponsor for this video is the subscribe button. It's a great button that you can find below the video. And I'm actually not going to ask you to like this. I'm just going to ask you not to dislike it. I'm also going to ask you to hit the share button. Because, guys, we've been blown away by the support you guys have had for just these two episodes. We're at 17 subs, gotten over 20 views on both episodes. That's an amazing stat line. So we ask that you please share this with your friends and sub up.
Let's keep it up.
I want Joe Rogan to wake up in the morning and be like, "Why have I been overtaken by the RichOnItch podcast?"
Yeah, let's hit at least 20 subscribers by next week.
Yeah, we can't overtake him on Spotify though. You may want to tell them why, Mitch.
Yeah, so we are very broke, as per usual. You know, that's kind of a staple of the RichOnItch community. But, so because we're broke, apparently you can't post beyond a couple episodes on Spotify while being broke. So, as a result, we're not able to continue posting on Spotify. So,
That's a big yikes. Listen, you guys are just going to have to get YouTube Premium, I guess. If you need to listen to your, podcasts exactly in podcast form, because I believe that, that's basically what YouTube Premium's for. You can download it, watch it offline, and it plays with your phone off or whatever, all that good stuff. But anyway, yeah, we are just going to be continuing here on YouTube. So, very quick announcement, very sad announcement. Mitch, this week for our weekly quotes with Riptide and Mitch, we have a couple of odd quotes that kind of intertwine into each other. So we're going to start off with Mitch's quote. Mitch says, "So, I have now been called a Chad twice by people I am 20% sure are serial killers." Wait, I'm pretty sure it's above 20. Wasn't it like 80? Yeah, it was 80. My brain did the quick maths there, and I put down 20 instead of 80. But yeah.
Yeah, so the great thing about this quote is I don't know the context for it. I don't know what context I said this in, besides apparently I was called a Chad twice by people I think are serial killers. I don't know the context. I don't know why I said it.
Yeah, 80% certain they were serial killers, by the way. That's a very high percentage to be sure someone's good. Anyway, serial killers think you're Chads. That's definitely a great reflection on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I also have seen these people that you think are serial killers. I think that this next quote is me describing those same people. Because my quote is, "All I know is there are some psychopath that built two restaurants, as in T-O, not T-W-O, T-O, that built two restaurants to murder people. And he stuffs their bodies into suits that later come back to life and then tries to not kill his kids, but they wander into the places and die. It makes no sense to me."
This is one of the most scuffed things I've heard you say. Obviously a reference to FNAF, but still very scuffed.
That's why I chose. I said why is that such a... It's just such a messed up quote. I could not English that day I sent that to. But anyway, yeah, we both saw the same serial killers. It's confirmed. It's confirmed.
Grammar is clearly not Riptide's strong suit. We're glad to know this now.
Yeah. What do you think I meant by that built two restaurants? Psychopath that built two restaurants. Like, did he build altars to restaurants? Do you think did he build roads to restaurants? Like, what's behind that?
He might have built animatronics for the restaurants and he just phrased it poorly. I don't know. I'm probably as confused as the you who was writing that was confused, because clearly you were confused.
yeah, we just took, yeah, it's just out of context quotes. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to be hopping into segment 2, which is trouble brewing in gaming, I believe. Now,
I believe so. Yeah.
for this is something that's been picking up a lot more the last couple of years, and some people really don't see it as a problem. I dislike it because I'm old-fashioned. I don't know. I'm interested to hear Riptide's opinion on this. But gaming has gotten increasingly virtualized. Like, it feels like almost all of the games you buy are online. You know, we buy them from Steam, which is nice to have. You know, we might buy them on the PlayStation Store. However, like, even when you buy discs for games and, like, you put them into your PS4 or PS5 or whatever, they tend to have to download from the web before you can even use them, even though you bought the disc, which supposedly should have the stuff on them. So personally, I see it as a problem with specifically the fact that as these servers are going to start shutting down, we're going to see a large part of this section of history of gaming deleted as stuff shuts down, and we're going to lose a lot of the stuff that we had for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't like the direction it's going in those regards at all, because, okay, like, for instance, back when I had an Xbox, Madden 16, I played it years after it came out. But actually, I think it was Madden 15. I take that back. But basically, the servers were shut down, but you could still do other stuff on it because it was a disc. And I feel like with the digitalization of that, they're not going to keep the virtual versions around once the server shuts down. So as you said, some of the old games are going to go away. And actually, on the point of Madden's a great example of that, because everyone knows the older versions of Madden are better than the newer ones.
Yeah.
Or at least they used to be, more worth your money than they are now.
Yeah, the problem is with the current direction gaming's going, if we do see a situation where there's a lot of, negligence from game companies and stuff like that, we're not going to be able to just go back and play the old versions once the old versions are no longer supported and gone. And, especially in the case of consoles, like, there's some of that, I think, with the PS3 going on where, like, just everything was so digitalized on the PS3 that a lot of people want to go back and play stuff and struggle to.
Mm-hmm. And not to mention, I think it's going to be harder to get older copies of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, let's say your favorite game, Mitch. What was you used to play on the PS2 a lot. So you've told me.
Yeah.
What was your favorite game on there?
I mean, there was a couple. I'd say ultimately, though, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal was my favorite game.
Okay, so that was your favorite game. In, I don't know, let's say even 10 years, do you think, like, obviously PS2s are going to stop working and, they're not in production anymore. But in the future, theoretically, if those discs stayed around, then you would definitely still be able to get copies of that, assuming you had a working PS2. I think I may have said PS4 one time, but I meant PS2.
Yeah.
Let's take games that are currently around today, like the latest editions of games that actually have, physical copies. 15, 20 years down the line, do you think you're going to be able to, buy your favorite games back from people who are reselling their, their retro games? Of course not, because it's all going to be virtual stuff. And you can buy a physical disc from someone and, play the old game. Obviously, the pool of said game or console or whatever is still going to decrease over time. Due to stuff not working and it not being produced anymore. But that's a better option compared to the current, virtualization, which is essentially just going to completely eradicate these games from the... from the surface, or not the surface, eradicate these games from the playing field. So yeah, that's my opinions on it. I prefer the physical stuff, but
Yeah, and
call me old
I
fashioned.
still have some old games that I go and play on my PS2. And one of the other problems with it is the lack of resale value on any
Mm-hmm.
games nowadays. Like when you buy these virtual games, you're not going to be able to sell them pre-owned. You can't sell games on Steam pre-owned. I have over 100 games in my Steam library, and I might be able to sell my Steam library for something, my Steam account, but
Mm-hmm.
like I can't sell the individual games. Whereas I have some PS2 games left that are worth like $200 now, that if I went and sold, even to my local game shop, I could probably make 100 or so bucks off of them. If I sold all my PS2 games now, I have over 100 PS2 games still that all run. So like, if I was to go sell all those, I could make quite a bit back from what was originally spent on them when I was a kid and my parents got them for me. So as a result, there's resale value to gaming of the past. You can make a lot of money back off of your stuff and stuff like that. But nowadays, it's very, like if you have, you can't make any of that money back.
Yeah,
So,
and better yet, instead of an unused game just sitting with you for forever, you can exchange it for money, which is something that's very flexible that you can use for other stuff, while the other person can get a game they wanted to play. So therefore, the person gained the game they wanted to play, and you lost a game that you hadn't used for years, and in exchange for it, you got money. And obviously, the other person was willing to give up a certain amount of money to play that game. With these virtual games, you're not going to be able to have that exchange. So everyone's just going to be able to buy them. Once they're done with them, there's no reuse, they're not really reusable, as you said. So yeah, they're just going to sit around in people's virtual libraries forever and
yeah.
go unused.
And while there's a lot of great things about the virtualization of gaming, those are just some problems we have with it.
Yeah,
Obviously, since we're both on the same side of this, it's kind of a one-sided thing with
yeah,
both of us
it's
sitting here
it's
talking
an
about it.
echo chamber.
But this is the sort of thing that I would definitely be interested to talk to somebody who's very pro virtualization of games and see kind of what their reasoning behind it is, because it's
Yeah, I
definitely
know.
something that we see from a different point of view, especially since I know both of us are very much so we like to have physical copies of stuff and stuff like that. So as a result, we have a different viewpoint on it than somebody who doesn't care so much about having physical goods. So definitely something interesting, definitely something that is a bit more difficult for us because we very clearly have one specific point of view on it, and it's a little harder for us to have a debate on it. But
Yeah, no, like for instance, we did a whole segment on just that one thing. In 2 seconds, I can think of something that virtual gaming is much superior to, your old physical copies to. Like for instance, virtual games, it's now much easier to play multiplayer with your friends. It's now much easier to integrate these games with other apps to make your experience better. There's
yeah,
plenty of, good things about virtual
yeah,
games,
and
but
being able to hop on a game on Steam and hit Shift Tab and click Invite Friend
yeah,
is
and
so much easier than it used to be to connect to friends.
yeah, and also there's the, stuff gets saved on a cloud much easier. You could probably do that before, but for a lot of games, older games, is the case where if the game, disc or your console, whatever you use to play, if that got obstructed, your stuff was gone. With virtual games, everything stays on a cloud. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of dipping into a whole nother territory. Plenty of great things about it. That's just one criticism Mitch and I wanted to talk about. So for segment 3, we are going to be talking about some stinking stuff happening in the YouTube community, and people cannot let go of the whole dream cheating controversy. And Mitch, you and I talked about this for like half an hour in your chunk removal video that can kind of be credited for starting off all of this.
Yeah, but like it's just insane to me how like it still feels like every time I go scroll through my YouTube recommended, there's some video from like 3 days ago that's oh my goodness, did Dream really cheat that speedrun? Like, and like, I get it. It's an interesting topic, you know. I'm pretty sure, didn't Dream end up admitting to having done it?
I don't actually know. I feel like if he had officially admitted to cheating, then it would have been a pretty big news story, but I think he's just gave subtle hints that it's basically no doubt in most people's minds at this point, except for the big Dream stands out there that Dream did in fact cheat. But yeah, no, at the bottom, at the end of the day, you know, people just need to stop with this. Like, how many months has it been now? I don't even remember how many months it's been at this point.
It's been quite a few. However, I will say, just off of a quick Google search, it does appear as though he did admit to cheating.
Okay, he did admit to cheating. That makes it even worse. Like, why are people making these videos on YouTube so much when the thing that they're trying to prove has already been proven without a doubt at this point? There's no room left for error here. Like, Dream's admitting to it, there's a bunch of proof to back it up. You shouldn't need any more than that.
Yeah, like,
but yet people are still milking this for content. And, you know, that's one thing. If you find a way to get a bunch of views on YouTube, whatever. But, you know, that's none of my business. But the people who click on it still, what are you doing?
Yeah, because it's,
like,
it's one of those things where it's like, most of the people who are watching videos like that, it's because, you know, they're still mad at Dream for cheating the speedrun, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things you're doing by continuing to click on those videos and continuing to give them views is you're actually perpetuating Dream forward.
Yeah, you're just getting Dream's name more and more out there. And, like, we see this with political strategies sometimes where, you know, some sides will, you know, be like, oh, this person is so terrible, and, you know, each side will do that to each other, but sometimes one side ends up doing it more, and that person ends up, you know, coming into power because their name was just put out there more. And it's the exact same thing with, you know, criticizing anyone. Like, there's plenty of people who said something stupid or did something dumb.
Yeah.
And their name gets out there and they become super popular, rich, famous, all because, you know, people said their name so much for criticizing them.
Yeah, the idea of any publicity is good publicity. And it's one of those things where I'm not going to say that, you know, you should stop watching Dream because he cheated. I'm not going to say that...
Yeah, I'm not going to say that either.
I'm not going to say that you should start watching Dream or that you should, you know, be willing to watch him despite the fact he cheated. All I'm going to say is it's one of those things where if you are one of the people who think that Dream cheating was unacceptable and, you know, because of it he shouldn't be have the same level of fame as he has, then a good spot to start would be to stop talking about it. As for the people who do think that it wasn't a big deal and that, you know, it's fine to go on, continue watching Dream, then one of the things you're doing by continuing to perpetuate the, you know, whole Dream cheating argument stuff is you're hurting his reputation. So on either side, it just doesn't make sense to keep talking.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to keep talking about. Like, just watch Dream like you watch any other YouTuber, you know? Yeah. It's just, people get so hung up on certain things, and they can't let it go. And this is something that people need to just let go. Both parties have admitted to it. He doesn't get credit for the speedrun anymore. I'm correct about that, right?
Yeah. He didn't in the first place.
Yeah, he never even got the credit for it. So he cheated, whatever. He's admitted to it. He's moved on. I don't know if the speedrunning community's moved on. I know, like, the people who monitor it definitely have, but as for the speedrun sort of fans, the people super into speedruns, obviously they haven't moved on from it because videos like that are still popular that, you know, have been going on. That this whole dispute's been going on forever. Just drop it.
Yeah,
okay?
And it's
You're beating a dead horse, folks.
It's the sort of thing where it's like, there's two factions in all this. There's the one side that's like, the video should be genuine. They should be legit. If you're doing your manhunt, you should do them legit. Blah blah blah. And then there's the other side, which is like it's just entertainment. It doesn't matter. And those two sides are never going to see eye to eye. This is the sort of thing where you can continue to argue endlessly back and forth, continue to make points back and forth for whether it was okay or not, or whether it was just entertainment or whatnot. But ultimately, the two sides are never going to see eye to eye. This is the sort of thing which I think everybody will be happier if we're all able to just move on from it and have it not be a pivotal point of the Minecraft community, because I think the Minecraft community itself also suffers from it, because it gives us more of a name of, there's always drama in the Minecraft community, blah, blah, blah. I think it's time for us as a community to move on.
The reason Minecraft is one of the many reasons Minecraft is popular is because Minecraft is a very wholesome multiplayer community, in my opinion. Like, I do not hear very many complaints at all about the Minecraft multiplayer community. Like, people who play Minecraft are just chill, Yeah, and this definitely is not perpetuating that very good aspect of being in the Minecraft community. So, just bottom line, let it go. Yeah, relax. RELAX. Relax.
And speaking of that, let's move on. Now, speaking of, moving on and, stuff, we're going to do the exact opposite and talk about what has happened today in the past. So
yes.
the day that this is supposed to be coming out is June 4th. Now, on June 4th in 781 BC, the oldest Chinese recording of a solar eclipse happened.
That is extremely interesting. For the simple reason, isn't a solar eclipse supposed to happen like super... Did it happen? A solar eclipse was supposed to happen somewhere recently. But that's just interesting. I know it's supposed to be at least this month, so... That's interesting. The first one was recorded this very month.
Yeah, solar eclipses and lunar eclipses are pretty cool.
Yeah, no. I went to... Okay, so the one where the moon blocks the sun is a lunar eclipse?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah, so I actually... right through the middle part of the U.S. a couple of years ago, there was a solar eclipse. And one of the places that you could see it really well was in... what's that place called? It's somewhere in Missouri. It's next to Kansas City. It's like Jefferson? No, that's not it. Anyway, it's a suburb of Kansas City. And I was there when the lunar eclipse happened. And let me tell you, that was the weirdest thing ever, because it was just like one moment, it was a normal, pretty sunny summer, well, it wasn't summer, it was more like spring day outside. And all of a sudden, it's just, it progressively gets darker, and in 30 seconds, it's like pitch black outside. It's dropped roughly 10 to 12 degrees. And it's just really weird because it's like the middle of nighttime, but you look at your watch, your phone, your clock, and it says 12 p.m., 1 p.m. And lunar eclipse is very cool. Anyway,
actually,
going on.
Wait.
Oh, you have a story about it? Okay.
Yeah, I actually have a story on this too. Sorry to cut you off for the next segment, but
no, it's whatever, man.
But
let's hear it.
I remember I didn't know it was coming. So like I used to walk down an old dirt road that was by our house all the time. Like it was a daily thing. I'd go for a walk down the dirt road. So I remember the day it happened, I was, and this was what, 2016, 2014, whenever it happened. It was a few years ago. But I digress. I was just walking along, and then all of a sudden, just things start to get dark. As I'm just taking a peaceful walk down a dirt road, and dark. It scared me so bad.
That's great. Yeah, I think Yeah, it was probably the same. We're probably talking about the same one, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely not a common event.
Yeah, it. I actually traveled to the place where it was supposed to be seen the most, so I assume it got a lot darker where I was than where you were at
Almost
the
for
time.
sure.
But yeah, yeah, no, lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, very interesting stuff. If you guys, oh man, I forgot to leave. If you guys ever have the chance to see one, then make sure to do so because it's really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, going into the next segment 5. You know, this is segment where we just have updates in gaming or news on game updates that came out. And World of Warcraft Classic got an expansion. So Mitch, this is kind of your segment, so take it in.
So the main thing I wanted to talk about here, mostly because there wasn't much news going on in the gaming world for this week, but this craze on like these classic versions of these MMO games like World of Warcraft and stuff like that, and now they're like, World of Warcraft Classic especially is going hard. They're releasing lots of expansion packs and stuff like that, and I hear this one's a really big one, but supposedly, I don't know, that might just be company propaganda. But yeah, so World of Warcraft is dropping an expansion pack again for their classic and stuff like that, and just this idea of these classic games like the RuneScape Classic, World of Warcraft Classic, etc., and just the insane hype that there's been over these games that are pretty old, but that they're kind of having a resurgence, and the developers are starting up on them again and stuff like that. That's just really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm actually looking up. Okay, so World of Warcraft was released before I was born.
What year was World of Warcraft released?
November 23rd, 2004. Age release? Not really. People know. If they've been watching my videos for the last year and a half, they would easily know how old I was, roughly.
Okay. I was worried for a second that World of Warcraft was older than me, but I'm good.
Yeah, no. World of Warcraft has been around since November 23rd, 2004. That is such an incredibly long time for a game to exist, to, still be getting expansions.
Yeah, and granted, they've changed some stuff up for the current classic and stuff like that. Like, it's not the original game, but it's, similar.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just one of those things where this idea of these really old classic games continuing to get updates is really weird to me, because like when I go back and play an old classic game, I like to have it be like pretty much the same as I remember it from when I played it as a kid. So this idea of continuing to get expansions, like it makes it feel like you're kind of changing the game up, and it's not exactly the same as it was. Like, for playing Minecraft, I would never go to Minecraft 1.16 to get a nostalgic experience from what it was like when I first started playing Minecraft. I'd go back, I'd download some of the beta versions and stuff like that, and go play one from when I was first starting out playing Minecraft and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the rationale that you could use, like comparing this to Minecraft, really, the rationale that you could use for this is, it's like going back to Minecraft 1.4. It's like Mojang currently going back to Minecraft 1.4 and making a change to Minecraft 1.4.
Well,
it makes zero sense, because Minecraft versions are honestly like entirely new games. Not really, not most of them.
Depending
but
on
a lot of updates change, a lot of stuff, like for instance 1.16. So they're essentially new games almost. Not really, but yes.
Yeah.
This is like Mojang going back to Minecraft 1.4 and changing that. That makes no sense. It's a very interesting concept. Don't get why they would do it, but whatever. It's their game.
It's honestly, I think it's a money grab, because
probably,
especially like Blizzard, for example, they've been starting to kind of fade out, especially like with some of the stuff that went down with like them and silencing protesters at some of their stuff who were protesting against China and stuff like that, and silencing those protesters and stuff like that. There's been a lot of controversy.
Oh, I
Blizzard's kind of
remember
been
that.
dying, stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
it's clearly kind of a combination of a cash grab with kind of like a publicity stunt of like recovering their lost public opinion.
Yeah, like there ain't no way that many people still play World of Warcraft extremely consistently.
But
Like I get it's a popular game, but
World of Warcraft also runs off of a subscription service, right? So
yeah,
as a result, they can get people to, play for X amount of time and,
yeah.
then leave their subscription running. So then they can, if they can get that huge craze for a month or whatever, and I think that's part of what they're doing with trying to get a really big publicly accepted expansion pack is hit it really big just a couple times on their player count, so then that way there's a lot of active subscriptions and a lot of people leave their subscriptions active even if they don't play as much.
Yeah,
I mean,
it makes sense. I'm not saying it's not a good business move, but again, like you said, you don't go back to old games to see all that's changed exactly. Most of the time, that's not why you go, revisit games.
Yeah, you go back to kind of experience the nostalgia and remember what playing the old game was like.
And if we're looking at this whole World of Warcraft situation completely wrong, then please tell us in the comments.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear from some people who actually play World of Warcraft Classic nowadays.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if any of you out there do hearing this, any of you 20 people, but yeah, if you do, please tell us if we were wrong. So Mitch, do you think that's a good spot to move into the next segment?
Yes, it is time for the sports segment. And since it's kind of Riptide segment, I'm going to let him kick it off.
And Mitch, I'm going to, one sec. I'm going to stand in front of you. I want you to Optifine into my face. Okay?
I don't have Optifine installed right now.
Okay, just F1 into my face. Just do F1 and stare into my face. So, guys. I get it. Okay? You guys have been telling me the sports segment is too long. Come here for internet online stuff, not just for sports. Okay, but there are some people out here who watch sports, or believe it or not. It's not just me. I guarantee you it's not just me. It can't just be me. Anyway,
Riptide's delusional again.
Anyway, we're not going to discontinue this, but we are definitely going to try to make it shorter. Or another thing that we're going to do is just make it something very broad that's not necessarily, a specific sport or anything like that. So this week starts off with an NBA, story, but definitely opens up into a much more broad question. So they are still in the first round of the NBA playoffs, but basically a fan at Game 4 of the Philadelphia-Washington playoff series, and this is being played in Washington, D.C., a fan ran onto the court and was tackled by a security guard with 3:40 left in the third quarter. Another fan at the end of Game 4 in the Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics series threw a water bottle at Kyrie Irving, who is a Nets player and a former Celtics player. So you can, that at least makes sense why a fan threw a water bottle at him, because, I guess the fan felt like he betrayed them for the Celtics. Betrayed the Celtics for the Nets. But it was a walk-off victory, blowout victory. The fans still threw a water bottle at Irving. So what are your thoughts on these events, Mitch, and why do you think so much hostility has started ensuing in these games?
Well, I think that part of the deal is obviously sports is a time when emotions run really high, right? People who watch sports tend to have their emotions float up, and that's part of why they watch it, for kind of like an adrenaline high of high emotions. So part of what I think is happening is between that and the fact that people have been really stressed out lately, whether due to politics or COVID or whatnot. The increase in stress levels has caused an already high energy event to kind of make people even
Boil it
more,
over. Yeah.
more high energy than they were before, which is causing an excess amount to the point that people are starting to do stuff like this. And this is, in my opinion, something that, isn't rare to see. It's something that's sad to see.
Yeah.
But, like, people tend to, when they get really overly excited or overly drunk or whatnot, to do things that they are not a good idea, that they regret very much so later.
Yeah, by the way, I'm pretty sure on both of those news stories I read on the two fans that did that, neither one of those people were intoxicated. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. So they did that without being intoxicated. And yeah, I think that you definitely have a point. If you don't think that, certain stress levels of, bad things happening in the world don't have an effect on you, they do. And if, you're not always managing that correctly and you go to something you're like, for instance, basketball fans normally get pretty passionate about the sport. So when you go into a game like that, and also might I know, in the Washington game, they have, I think I saw they had pretty full, like a pretty full stadium. Like it looked half capacity or more. So with all these stadiums bubbling, filling in, and tensions have been bubbling up for quite a while now. I think that people just don't know how to manage stuff, concerning their feelings at sports events. And I feel like this is actually a good thing to ask. Do you think this is a problem with sports fans in general? Do you think sports fans get too attached to sports?
Well, I think that there's... I think that this is going to be something that might take me a bit to explain. So let me go over kind of my overall opinion on this. So there's two things. I think one thing that's happening here is, like, as you get really involved with stuff like news, for example, you feel very stressed out, stuff like that, which is one of the dangers of, like, for example, leaving the news on your TV at all times, is you get really stressed out because, there's always something bad going on, whether it was a shooting in your area.
Yeah, the news doesn't cover the good stuff.
Yeah, so as a result, there's a lot of bad stuff that goes on with the news. Now, one thing that happens when you're really into sports is you pay a lot of attention to sports news. And sports news, while not quite on the same level of seeing a murder in your area, is still really stressful, really, taxing to pay attention to it a lot emotionally and stuff like that. So
Mitch, you literally call Aaron Rodgers your dad. So,
okay, look.
As much of a joke that is, it still shows, sports fans shamelessly make jokes like that. Where, sometimes people might not, make jokes like that. But...
People make jokes like that for politics too, though.
Yeah, that is true.
So, it's one of those things where I think that, to a large degree, paying a lot of attention to anything that has a high possibility of not going your way, whether it's politics or sports or whatnot, anything like that, when they tend to not go your way, if you've invested a lot into it, whether money or emotionally or whatnot, it's really stressful and really tough. And that's why some people, like, for example, like Packers fans get really upset when we lose in the NFC Championship after a season that felt like we really should have had a good shot at the Super Bowl, at making it to the Super Bowl, if not winning it.
Yeah, and like people in my church actually have tried to argue that Christians should not get into sports for basically this exact reason. And I've never disagreed with that, but like when stuff like this happens, I totally see where they're coming from. Yeah. Because, like, for instance, I don't know about other religions, but, like, for the Christian religion, we're supposed to treat one another with kindness. We're supposed to, not be heavily invested into this world and look above it and all that. But for when stuff like this happens, it definitely appears that you become way, way, way too focused and way, way, way too into sports. Like, for instance, when MVS dropped that ball in the Packers game last year, he got death threats.
Yeah, and
I definitely think that sports fans do have a hard time realizing, and like you can care about sports. There's nothing wrong with that. Just realize where your priorities are.
I
There's
feel
no
like
need to.
part of
keep
the
going.
part of the deal here is people are investing a lot of emotion into something that's very much so a gamble. You don't know who's going to win each game, stuff like that. So as a result, you're investing a lot of emotion into something that has a very high chance of not going your way. And it's dangerous to get too emotionally involved to a team or to a player or to anything like that, because if, say, your favorite player leaves your team, you might feel extremely upset and just be heartbroken over something that really doesn't affect you that much.
Yeah, like being extremely over emotional about sports is something we normally think of children doing. I cried in 2015 and when the Fail Mary happened. I was young enough to do that. I wouldn't cry if something like that happened now because, I'm not saying I'm anywhere near complete maturity, but I am, much more mature than I was when I was 8 or whatever. But yeah, back then, I'm sure if Aaron Rodgers left the team, I also would have not been a Packers fan anymore, even though that's not good sportsmanship. So yeah, just be mature. Remember where your priorities are. You
And
can be
don't get
invested into a game, but yeah,
but
don't get
don't be too emotionally invested in something that still at the end of the day is still a game.
yeah. That's just good life lessons. Anyway, Mitch, I'm gonna need you to do the thing again. So
Okay.
I hope that this segment was not too boring and not too specific and nerdy about sports for all of you who gave me complaints these last couple of weeks. I hope you actually found that segment, and yeah, I hope you found that interesting. Anyway, back to the next segment of the podcast, which is our favorite part of the podcast, reviewing the comments.
Yes, today we have a wonderful comment, which comes from my man Manta Ray. He said, "I hate you," smiley face.
Yeah, that was last week's video. He was in the video, by the way.
Yeah.
And he commented, "I hate you," with a smiley face, meaning, he hates both Mitch and I. Mitch, all I have to say to this is, do you think it's time we make another exposing Manta Ray video?
I think it might be time.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna have to switch up the narrative a bit this time. I don't know. Anyway, in all seriousness, we're just kidding. Thank you, Manta Ray, for the comment. Remember to post your comments this week, guys. We had only one comment last week. What was that? We know that you guys like the podcast and listen to it and have stuff to tell us. So by all means, tell us in the comments or even the live chat. But anyway, yes, Manta Ray. All we have to say to you is, we love you too.
Yes. That came from yours truly.
It did. That was Mitch's idea.
Yes.
Being the brilliant poet that Mitch is. You're just so good with words on the fly, RichOnItch.
That's definitely not just my default response to anybody saying I hate you.
Yeah, that's became my... Honestly, it's a good default response to have. Because it is much more triggering. If someone says, "I hate you," it will trigger them much more if you say, "I love you too," than if you said, "I hate you" back. So not only are you spreading positivity, but you're also trolling them much more. So I think we should all have that.
Because there's two sides. Because if they don't really hate you and are just mad at you for the moment, then you give a nice, kind response back that isn't going to ruin your relationship with them compared to if you get mad and flared up at them.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, if it's somebody that really does truly hate you, then saying "I love you too" will definitely trigger them. So it's just all around, regardless of the situation, a great response.
Yeah, no, I don't know why Manta Ray hates us. Do you think it's because I exposed him in trivia, or do you think he thought that we made him look awkward? Because we didn't, Manta Ray. You did amazing, except for history trivia, but you can blame Mitch mostly for that.
Okay, look, just because I have a passion for history, Napoleon was average height, by the way, doesn't mean that you need to blame me for anything.
Okay, well, you know what? I guess that's fair. I guess. Anyway, on to the last segment of today's episode, which is, as you guys know, also our second favorite segment, because guys, we love all these segments, is also our favorite segment, which is complaining about YouTube. And guys, we will keep this segment until we're taken off of the platform for it. So this week, what we have to address is YouTube. In fact, this is fresh news, breaking news. About 3 hours ago, YouTube basically put a public statement saying they paid out roughly $4 billion to the music industry over the past year.
Just
so,
insane.
Mitch, I feel like you're going to have a lot to say about this. So you started off being the fiery speaker you are.
So this comes back to something that, I feel like I complain about YouTube a lot. I'm good at it. Like, it's if I had to pick a career, complaining about YouTube would be a wonderful career. But YouTube has the tendency to ditch its main creators in favor of TikTok creators, to ditch their main creators in favor of music industry, to ditch their main creators in favor of random big Indian companies, to ditch their main creators to this and that and this and that. And YouTube has a large tendency to ignore the main bulk of their creators, what they need, what they want, blah, blah, blah. And they've paid the music industry $4 billion over the last year.
Mm-hmm.
$4 billion.
That's a lot of money. But I guess I'll try to play a bit of devil's advocate here. I don't agree with this move either, but I guess I'll play a bit of devil's advocate here. So, what's wrong with this? I mean, these artists are just posting their music videos on YouTube. YouTube's making money off of it. They're making, I really don't get how it works, because some music videos are monetized, others aren't. So I don't really understand how the whole music video system monetization thing works. But yeah, what's wrong with it, Mitch? I mean, they're posting their stuff, YouTube's getting it, and yeah, what's wrong with it?
Okay, so I don't have a problem with the money that they're giving the music companies and stuff like that for the ads that were played on the music videos, right? So like when you listen, when you pull up your favorite artist, regardless of, whether it's a rapper or a country artist or a pop star or whatever, when you pull them up and listen to their song and an ad plays, of course that money should go to the music company. There's no rationale for any reason why it shouldn't. However, the problem I have is how much of this money came from videos where there was a 30-second snippet of their music video and a 12-minute video that almost had nothing else relating to their content. And for the most part, it has absolutely nothing to do with the music video themselves, and yet the music company is the one making the money.
But but the music is their property, Mitch.
But for a 30-second snippet, if you want to make the case that if a 30-second clip of the music video plays in a 10-minute video, that then at that point it would be 5% of that revenue should go to the music company. You know what? I'm down for that. I'd be willing to get behind that. But the idea that the 30-second snippet of the music video claims the entire revenue from a completely unrelated video, or like in the case of, like, say, with this hour podcast, if the 10-second outro at the end has copyrighted music and...
It's not copyrighted, by the way.
Yeah, the music video is not copyrighted. But assuming it was copyrighted music, the company just being able to come in and take all of the revenue from our almost hour podcast over a 10-second clip of audio makes no sense.
Yeah.
And
okay, also... Yeah. Okay. Finish your thought.
And like, even like with like the TikTok review videos, like what PewDiePie does, like all the situations where there's some short snippet where they play a copyrighted song and they have to pull it out, even though it's a guy reviewing content, which, might I note, based off of the free use of the content on the platform, as long as you're reviewing content and stuff like that, and it's not just a direct re-upload and you're actually, like, pausing and talking about and stuff like that, it's supposed to still be considered your own content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the cases of review YouTubers who watch videos from, like, say, TLC or stuff like that.
Or Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil's a big one.
Or Dr. Phil and stuff like that. A lot of those YouTubers still get to keep the revenue from some of those videos. So not only is it unfair to music companies that YouTube cracks down so hard on that, but it's also unfair to... I mean, not only is it unfair to the creators that they crack down so hard, it's also unfair to the creators of other kinds of content that gets reviewed and watched a lot, because as a result, they also lose... You know, they're not getting money for their content being played, but yet the music companies, because they're big and powerful, get to come in and go, you know what, you're going to give us our revenue, though. Even though, you know, they played a 30-second clip for an hour video. We still want all the revenue from it.
Yeah. And I'll stop playing devil's advocate now. Yeah, I completely disagree with this because at the point, as you said, like if we have a 10-second copyrighted thing at the end of this, you know, hour-long podcast or however long this is going to end up being, at the point where they're claiming all of the revenue for something that was 98% our content or higher, they're getting all they're essentially stealing from us at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer stealing anything from them. Like their content is in such a small margin, and it's not even a focal point of the video. They're taking money from us. They're the ones taking, you know, they're the ones that are taking the fruits of our labor, not the other way around. And I actually think that what you proposed, after my question, you know, it's their content or whatever, I think that that is a great solution. Like, listen, how much of the video was their content? Oh, he left. How much of the video was their content? And however much it was, or, you know, you can just apply an equal standard. You know, we'll just say you get a percentage of the money since this percentage of video was your content, and that's that. I think that that is an amazing standard to live by, because the companies whose content was quote-unquote stolen, they are still getting the money that they deserve. They are getting the money that their content produced.
And to be frank, in the case of like music videos and stuff like that, the companies actually get a larger percent than what they don't. I'm still fine with that because it's a compromise. But like, you know, they'd be at that point getting 5% of the video for 5% of the revenue for their video, for their music, playing in 5% of the video, even though it was just the sound and there's still the video and possibly other sounds as well going on. But they then get 5%, so they get a larger cut than actually what they should even be owed under that situation, assuming you run under the standard of, you know, that.
Yeah, sure. Give them more than what, like, for instance, if there's just a 10-second clip in an hour-long video, like, yeah, you can give them 5%, even though 5% of the video is not what they took. And I actually do think it's not really reasonable, but it's much better than what the system is now, and at the same time, you're still somewhat appeasing the music industry overlords, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, great solution. Anyway, Mitch, I say it's about time that we end off this podcast. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would like to just thank everybody for watching. As we said, let's hit 20 subscribers by next week. I know you all. Yeah,
that'd be amazing. We're only 3 away at the time of recording this. Again, subscribe, share this channel with your friends, and leave a comment below because we love hearing from you. But
anyway, guys,
thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Hello. You have been listening to the RichOnItch Podcast. Remember to subscribe, comment, and share this with your friends. Come back every Friday at 1 p.m. Central for a new listening experience. Thank you.